Hello, you're welcome back. I'm still treating bearings and distances. My name is Harrison. I have a question on the board to solve. An aeroplane leaves an airport and flies due north for 1.5 hours at 500 kilometers per hour. It then flies 400 kilometers on a bearing 05 degrees. Calculate its final distance and bearing from the airport. So, as usual, we start by drawing the diagram. Solution. Now I'm checking from the question, an aeroplane leaves an airport. So let's take this. And fly due north. That means let's take the airport, we'll use A to represent that. Then at a point, it stopped and started taking another direction. It flies due north for 1.5 hours at this. It then flies 400 kilometers on a bearing 053. So we have to indicate that from here. Then it means we are now talking of this is 053 degrees, and then here is the final point. So let's call this A, B, and C. Then this is the starting point. So for us to know the whole of angle B, remember the whole angle here is 180, but this is 53. So angle B, for instance, should be equal to 180 degrees minus 53 degrees. And that will give us 127 degrees. Okay. Now, we know that it's traveled, it was taking, it traveled 1.5 hours at 500 kilometers per hour. So, if 1 hour is 500 kilometers, therefore 1.5 hours should be equal to 500 plus 250, that's half of this, equal to 750 kilometers. So, and then in that case, we are now saying that from here, let's come down a bit. So this should be 750. Okay. And then the whole of this angle now is 127 degrees. So remember, we have to calculate this final distance and bearing from the airport. In fact, this C point should be the final distance, and this is the airport. So this is 750 and this is 400. Now for us to calculate AC, which is the final distance, that means we have to use a cosine rule. Cosine rule because we know two sides and one angle. So continue. B squared should give us A squared plus C squared minus 2AC cos B. And remember, B is the side, this small b is the side facing capital B. This is small c facing capital C, and then this small a facing capital A. So that will give us 400 squared plus C 750 squared minus 2 times 400 times 750. Let me put it in order. That will give us 400 minus 2 times 400 times 750 cos 127 degrees. And that will give us, you check your calculator, and that will be 160,000 plus 562 500, then minus 600,000 multiplied by minus 0.6018. That is cos 127. And then be equal to, when you add, first of all, we write it out because this and this will be plus. So it will be 160,000 plus 562 500 plus 600,000 multiplied by 0.6018. So if we carry out the addition and the multiplication, it will give us 722 500 plus 361080. And then the whole thing will 580. So by the time you add everything, you add this one and then this. If you add this and this, that will give you this. And then this one and the cos will give you this. So by the time you add the two, we now have this. And that means that b squared is now 10580. Therefore, b alone should be square root of 1083580. And if you carry out, find the square root, that will give us 1041, sorry, 1040.95 kilometers. And that should be approximately equal to 1041 kilometers. So that is the distance from the airport to the final destination. So the next thing is for us to find the bearing of C from A. That is bearing of C from A. And then that, since this is the northern part, you have to start from here clockwise. So we have to find this angle because that will be the bearing. So we say that we take it to be theta. So, and in order to do that, we can use sine rule. And now using sine rule, we can say that A over sine A should be equal to B over sine B. And that will lead us, A is 400 all over sine theta, which is equal to B 1041 all over sine 127 degrees. So now coming up, here we have 1041 sine theta is equal to 400 sine 127 degrees. Therefore, sine theta is equal to 400 multiplied by, we check our table, our calculator, and that will give us 0.7986. We are dividing by 1041. So when we carry out the division, that will give us, first of all, we multiply, and that will give us 319.45 all over 1041. That's supposed to give us 0.3069. Okay, 3069. So in that case, we have now seen that sine theta is equal to 0.3069. Therefore, sine inverse theta is equal to, you check this, the particular angle, and that will give us 17.87 degrees, approximately equal to 17.9 degrees. And that is the bearing of the aeroplane from the airport. Therefore, the bearing of C from A is equal to 17.9 degrees. That is the value of theta, because it has to be clockwise. From the north, go towards your right, and that is that. So I've come to the end of the question. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. If there's any question, you put it in the comment section so that in my next video, I'll look at it and find solution to it. Thank you.